Hey, what's up guys? My name is StevieWunderKid and welcome back to another GTA 5 car replica build. In this video, we're going to be recreating Marty McFly's 1985 Toyota Hilux pickup truck that appeared towards the end of the first Back to the Future movie and also made an appearance at the start of the second movie in that franchise. These are among my absolute favorite movies, and to be able to recreate the truck somewhat accurately here in GTA 5, I was super hyped to do it, and that's why I'm making this video. So I know it's a little bit of a change from the Fast and Furious builds, but don't worry, they will make a return very soon. I just saw this and I made this build and I thought it was worth showcasing. So anyways, boys, for this build, we're going to be using the brand new Declasse Walton L35 that was just added as part of the San Andreas Mercenaries DLC. And you can pick up the Walton L35 for $1.67 million off of the Southern San Andreas Super Autos website. And then considering all of the aesthetic modifications for this build, you're looking at a total cost of around $1.8 million in total. So pretty pricey, but as you guys can see here, the match is pretty faithful and pretty close to the car, or the truck rather, in the movie. And I know a lot of you guys are probably confused as to why I'm not using the Karen Rebel or the Karen Rusty Rebel. Number one, the Karen Rusty Rebel, although you can get kind of close in terms of the aesthetic modifications on that truck, obviously the truck itself is rusty and obviously doesn't match the clean look of Marty's truck from the movie, so that's why I didn't use that one. In addition, the normal Karen Rebel, or the clean version, you have to wait for it to spawn with a very specific set of parts. You have to wait for it to spawn with the right set of bull bars. You also have to wait for it to spawn with the right truck bed too, and even then those parts are chrome and they're kind of textured weird, and you really can't capture as much detail even when you find a clean Karen Rebel to match. You can paint it black, but at the end of the day it just still doesn't look as close as this truck in my opinion, using the new Walton L35. So that's why I'm using this truck for this build. So anyways, launching into the aesthetic stuff, first of all, in bumpers here, I chose the low bull bars for the front bumper. This is probably the closest match you're going to get in GTA 5 because it's a pretty discrete set of bull bars, but still kind of matches the sizing of the bull bars on Marty's truck. In addition to that, it adds these kind of extra turn signals that are kind of hung over that top bar there, which look kind of close to the style of the bull bars on the front of Marty's Hilux. The only other option that might work is the normal bull bars, but in my opinion these are just way too big. They fully enclose the headlights there. There's like way too much extra like reinforcement. In addition, it kind of goes over the line of the top of the hood there, so I thought that was a little too much overkill. The shape of the center portion of the bull bars kind of matches, but in my opinion it's just too overkill, which is why I went with the low bull bars instead. But either the low bull bars or the normal ones I think are probably two of the closer matches you can get there. Moving into the rear bumpers here, I chose the heavy duty rear bumper to match the look of the kind of exposed bars on the bumper on Marty's truck. This is probably the best match you're going to get here in GTA 5. That's why I chose these. So the heavy duty rear bumper there with those reinforcements. Moving back out here, next up we have the exhaust, and for this to kind of match the look of the OEM exhaust, which was way more discreet on Marty's truck. It was kind of slanted and it exited just behind the rear fender. It was kind of slanted downwards as well. I think to get as close as possible to that look, the slanted side exits are the way to go because they're the most discreet in terms of the tip styling. The side exits are just way too big, and obviously the car didn't have full side exit exhaust like these either, so I think that's the closest match you're going to get for the exhaust. Next up in fenders here, to kind of match the look of the like pulled wide body flared look of the Toyota Hilux, the extended arches I think are definitely the way to go for these. So yeah, extended arches there on the fenders. Next up here on the grille, I chose the matte black grille with the inserts, as you guys can see. Now obviously I know this truck is based off of an S10, and this really does make it look even more like a Chevy S10, but despite that fact, I still think the texturing of the matte black, in addition to the style of the inserts, so like the vertical kind of bars that segment the grille into different pieces there, really closely matches the style of the bumper or the style of the grille that you can see behind the bull bars on Marty's truck. In my opinion, the most faithful match that you can get, which is why I chose this grille. So that's all done there. Next up for the hood, we're just going to go with the normal clean hood, as you guys can see here. Just take away the little like center segment there on the stock hood. Clean hood is definitely the way to go, and a pretty close match to the Hilux hood as well. Next up for the lights here, for the headlights, we're just going to leave the stock headlights, as you guys can see. Really simple. Obviously the truck didn't have any neon, so we're just going to leave those off. Next up here we have the livery, and for this the truck was all one color. It was all this really nice black shade, so I just left the livery off. Next up here on the plate, you are going to want to run the blue and white 1 plate. That's the closest in terms of styling to the California plate that's on Marty's truck in the movie. Now there are two options here for the license plate. So in the first Back to the Future movie, the license plate on the back of the truck, the right number is 2EZP916. So that is the first version of the truck that you see in the first Back to the Future movie, but the number on the second truck in the second Back to the Future movie is 2BAK860. So either one of those numbers you can choose for your plate. Obviously, I just went with my own SWK plate, but if you want to go for maximum accuracy, then either of those two numbers will work. Just make sure that the style of the blue and white one, that's the closest match you're going to get to that older California plate there. Next up here for the respray, for this I went with a crew black for both the primary and the secondary, but you can get a pretty close match as well just using the normal classic black. In fact, I'm going to do that just so you guys can see exactly how it looks. So classic black for the primary as well as the secondary, as you guys can see. Not much different from the crew black. The crew black is slightly darker, but still, as long as you get like somewhat of a shade of dark black like this, then you'll be fine. And then moving into the trim color here, the Hilux from the movie actually had a nice gray interior, and I think the closest possible match to that is the bluish silver. I know that the gray interior on Marty's truck in the movie was kind of two different colors, so like the dash was kind of a darker shade of gray, and then the seats and the door panels and stuff like that were a lighter shade of gray. I think a happy medium in terms of capturing both shades of gray there is using the bluish silver, as you guys can see here. It gives a nice brighter gray look. It isn't too crazy. You could still kind of see the gray accents on the outside of the truck as well, so I think the bluish silver is the best match here for the trim. So that's all handled there. Next up here for the roll cage, we're just going to leave it off because obviously Marty's truck didn't have one. Next up here for the roof, once again, we're just going to leave the roof stock, just keep it nice and clean. Next up here for the skirts, we are going to want to run the wide mud guards. As you guys can see, they really closely match the look of the big prevalent four-wheel drive mud guards that you could see on Marty's Hilux in the movie, so definitely run these. They're the closest you can get. Next up for the suspension, I would slightly lower the truck. I know the truck in the movie, it's weird because this car the truck in GTA here just sits way differently than it does in the movie, so I think to get slightly closer to the stance of Marty's Hilux is to use either the lowered suspension or the street suspension. I personally kept it lowered because I didn't want to go super low. I still wanted to have some degree of ground clearance, and I think overall the styling is still pretty darn close, but either lowered or street, kind of up to you. Street might be closer in terms of stance, but I think it just kind of looks awkward on the Walton L35 here, so that's why I just went with the lowered, just to get it a little closer. So yeah, that's all handled there. Next up for the tailgate, we're just going to leave it stock. I know we kind of don't want to flex the fact that this is a Declasse vehicle rather than being a Karen or some equivalent Toyota brand here in GTA 5, but the style of the tailgate itself and the style of the text really closely matches the Toyota text that's on the back of Marty's Hilux in the movie. So although different manufacturers, the style of the tailgates here is still a pretty close match, so just leave it stock for the best accuracy. Next up, transmission, that's up to you. For the truck bid here, pretty simple. We are going to run the outer cage braced with the lights, really closely matching the look of the outer cage that's on the Hilux in the film. Obviously a little bit different in terms of styling. The outer cage, like this one, looks slightly better, but in order to get the look with the added lights on the roof there, the outer cage braced with lights I think is a closer match, so definitely choose this. And then next up for the wheels here, unfortunately there's really not a close match that we can get. First of all, I would recommend running off-road rims on this truck, obviously to get the same kind of style in terms of the tire, but unfortunately there's no style of rim here that you get that has like the black on the face and then also the chrome in the barrels, like it was on the Steelies on Marty's truck in the movie. So we really can't achieve the right coloring, but we can achieve a similar look in terms of the rim itself. So what I chose is the heavy duty Steely. I think that the overall styling of this Steely and the fact that there's a lot of like little divots on the inside of the rim there, and obviously this fact that it is a Steely, overall the style of the heavy duty Steely seems to match up closest with the style of the rims that are on Marty's Hilux. So if you wanted to run these, you could. I know the Steelies on Marty's truck were like perforated, so they did have holes in them. So another possible match here, as well as the police issue Steely. Not really a fan of these though because they just look a little bit too basic. I think the heavy duty is slightly more detailed, has a more prominent dish, and just overall looks a little bit closer in terms of styling, which is why I chose these. So really simple there, heavy duty Steely in the off-roads category so we can get those pretty accurate tires. And then for the wheel color itself, just went with a normal black. Really plain and simple. Unfortunately, again, we can't get the chrome on the barrels, but I think this is overall still pretty close in terms of styling. So that's all handled there. For the tire design, obviously just leave them stock. Tire enhancements, that's up to you. Tire smoke, just leave the default white. And then finally for the windows here, I went with a dark smoke to kind of match the look of the dark smoke that are on the Hiluxes. So on the quarter windows and on the back glass, they were pretty heavily tinted, so to emulate the look of that tint, I did go with the dark smoke here. Although it tints the full driver and passenger side windows, I think still overall the styling is pretty close. So dark smoke there for the tints, and that is really everything that you will need to turn the Declasse Walton L35 into Marty McFly's Toyota Hilux from the Back to the Future movie series. As I said before, I was a super huge fan of this movie series, and to be able to recreate this truck somewhat accurately here in GTA is definitely a blessing. Really trying to see the positives out of the San Andreas Mercenaries DLC. I will be probably making a full-on like commentary and rant style video talking about Rockstar removing a lot of the cars from this game. In case you guys don't already know, Rockstar removed like 200 cars from the game, and you know, it really is a bummer, but I'm trying to see the positive, and I'm trying to enjoy the new content as part of this update, and this is just one example of that. So expect more videos on the update in addition to a full-on rant style video at some point soon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.